Black Friday, a day that looks innocent on the surface. We just go shopping, right? We get deals, buy TVs, scream at strangers in Target, maybe fight someone's grandma for a 50-inch Samsung. You know, the norm. But the truth? Black Friday wasn't created by stores. It wasn't created for the holidays either. And it certainly wasn't created for people to have fun saving money. Ugh. Come on. Black Friday was born out of corruption, chaos, police misery, government panic, and the kind of greed that could burn an entire economy to the ground. Today, I'm going to tell you the real story. A story that takes us from Wall Street villains to panicked farmers to fed up police forces and finally to the marketing scams that manipulated an entire nation. So sit down, grab your popcorn because the Black Friday that you know today has nothing to do with the Black Friday that started it all. Hey, I'm back. I missed you. Did you miss me? I know, it's been a while. I just needed a break, okay? I just needed a break to just get my mind in the right set or in the right place and just remember why I started this channel in the first place. So now that I have that clear, I won't be taking any more breaks. So we're here. We're here to stay, okay? If this is your first time seeing me on your screen, hi, hey, hello, welcome. My name is Nikita, and on random days of the week, I just sit down and do my makeup and just talk about history. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, you might want to subscribe. I don't know. But anyways, today I decided that I wanted to talk about Black Friday because I was just wondering during the week, I was like, who invented Black Friday? How did it start? Who gave it that name? I had so many questions that I just had to go and dig it up. And since the holidays are coming, I was just like, I might as well just make a story about this. So that's how we ended up here. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about Black Friday today. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, so let's take it all the way back to September 24th, 1869, New York City. Okay? Now, keep in mind that America had just survived the Civil War. The economy was fragile, people were just trying to rebuild their lives, and the country as a whole was just trying to recover. Okay? So enter to the story these two men called Jay Gould, Jay Gould. I'm gonna put his name somewhere here because I'm not good at names. I'm working on it. But so these two men enter in the picture, okay? Jay Gould and James Fisk. These two men, they started plotting. Okay? They looked at a struggling nation and were like, it seems like the nation is struggling. Oh, I know. Why not make it worse? Yes, let's make it worse. That's how they thought about it. They were like, yeah, I can tell the nation is struggling. Everybody's trying to rebuild their lives. Why don't we make things worse? That's literally what they were thinking about. I promise you. Now, you might think I'm being harsh or whatever, but no. These two were not just ordinary businessmen, okay? These two men were already infamous for being manipulative, controlling, and strategic. They were not good people, is what I'm trying to get at. Bad people. Wicked people. They were the type of businessmen that would look at a map of America, see the struggle, and be like, how can we destroy people's lives for fun? How can we get money off of poor people? That's... Maybe I'm exaggerating, but that's just how bad I think they were, okay? Because their actions, greedy and selfish. That's how I see it. We can disagree. We can agree to disagree if you have different opinion, but that's my opinion. And you're listening to my story, so... But yeah, anyways. So remember how I told you that these two were already infamous for just being horrible people? These two had a new obsession, okay? And their new obsession was gold. Ah, yes, gold. And you might be wondering, why gold? Why gold? Or you might not, it might make sense to you, but if it doesn't make sense for you. They were obsessed with gold because back then, almost everything depended on gold. The shipping depended on gold, the crop prices depended on gold, railroads depended on gold, bank loans obviously depended on gold. I mean, even contracts depended on gold. The whole economy of the nation depended on gold. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my mirror, okay? I just need to see what I'm doing with my face because the camera is like all over there and you get it, okay? But anyways, like I was saying, the whole economy depended on gold. Gold was basically the only thing keeping the economy together, keeping the economy afloat. So now you can already imagine, if something happens to gold or someone messes with the gold, the economy is going to collapse. And that's exactly what happened. But let me explain to you how it happened. Okay? So here's how this evil master plan took place. Jay Gould and James Fisk secretly formed a group of investors, and they just basically said, hey, we're going to corner the gold market, which basically meant that they wanted to buy so much gold that they basically controlled the market. Remember how I told you the whole economy of the nation rested on gold? So just imagine if two people or a couple of people started buying a bunch of gold, they would be able to control the price of the gold. They would be able to control the market. Not only that, but they would be filthy rich. And that's what they wanted from this. They didn't care about the gold. They cared about the fact that they would be billionaires. Jay Gould and James Fisk wanted to buy so much gold that they would create a shortage so extreme that the price of gold would skyrocket and they would become richer than anyone in America. That was the plan. Now here's the crazy part. They almost succeeded. Ah, yes, they did. They almost succeeded. They almost got what they wanted. They started buying gold little by little, and then suddenly gold prices started to rise unnaturally. So then farmers started to panic because the price of transport started going up. And then banks started to panic as well. And then you had politicians that started to panic and started being confused as well because no one was understanding why prices were just suddenly skyrocketing, why everything was getting so expensive. And when that started happening, you would think Fisk and Good would stop, right? But no, they didn't. Instead, they dragged politicians into the scheme, bribed insiders, and even manipulated newspapers. It got so bad that President Ulysses S. Grant himself got suspicious. He was like, what's going on? Smells fishy here. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? And then came September 24th, 1869, the day everything blew up. When President Ulysses S. Grant figured out what Jay Gould and James Fisk were doing, he ordered the government to release $4 million worth of gold into the market to break the manipulation. And just like that, in one morning, the price of gold collapsed. People lost fortunes instantly. The stock market crashed. Banks failed. Companies fired thousands of people. Farmers couldn't sell their crops anymore, and the entire economy spiraled into chaos. People were flooding the streets, just crying, yelling, screaming, panicking, and newspapers wrote headlines like, "A day of disaster, the darkest Friday in America." But the name that stuck, the name that burned itself into American history, was Black Friday. This was the first Black Friday, a day of economical crisis, not shopping. Now you might be wondering, since the market collapsed and everybody was panicking and everybody was just in total crisis, in total chaos, what happened to Jay Gould and James Fisk? Don't worry about them. They were fine. They walked away rich. Yeah, they walked away rich because villains always do. Yeah, villains never face their consequences. I don't know why. I don't know. But yeah, they ended up rich. And while they ended up rich, thousands of innocent Americans ended up bankrupt, ruined, and hopeless. So, yes, Black Friday's legacy started with destruction. So, obviously, this whole event passes by. Little by little, people build themselves again, and it gets back to a place where people feel stable again. And you could say things were better. I wouldn't say things went back to normal, but things were definitely better. The economy was definitely doing better, and people were feeling a bit more stable. Now, the word Black Friday didn't get mentioned again until 1950. So let me take you maybe 90 to 100 years forward. It's a different century, a different city, and it comes with different chaos, but it's the same country. So we are now in Philadelphia in the late 1950s. Now, every year, the city hosted the Army Navy football game. And obviously, as expected, the day before the game, which was the day after Thanksgiving, hundreds and thousands of people flooded the city all at the same time. Tourists, students, families, drunks, sports fans, holiday shoppers, pickpockets, shoplifters. I mean, everyone and anyone you could imagine, all in the same place. I mean, retail stores were packed, sidewalks were full, and traffic, oh, it did not move. And the police, they suffered. Okay? They had the worst end of it all. And you might be wondering, what does the police have to do with all of this? I mean, well, let me tell you. I don't know if you remember, but when I was mentioning all the people that would be in the city, I mentioned pickpocketers and shoplifters. Now, because pickpocketers and shoplifters exploded and there were so many in the city and they were just doing their thing, stores would call the police. Like, hey, hi, hello 911. Yeah, we have a shoplifter here. Yeah, we need you to come right now. Now, it wouldn't be an issue if it was just one, two, maybe three shoplifters, but there were so many that police had to be called to stores constantly. Not only that, but it was hard to get to the stores because of the traffic, because of how many people were on the roads. The sidewalks were full. There was a bunch of traffic. There was people everywhere. I mean, it was impossible for police officers to do their work. And some officers had to work 12 to 14 hours just to be able to keep the madness under control, if they could even keep it under control. The police officers in Philadelphia, they dreaded this day. They complained about this day. They despised this day. So, since they hated this day so much, they started calling it Black Friday. It's back. Now, they weren't calling this day Black Friday in a fun way. Duh. It was more in a please don't make me clock in on this day, or please I don't want to go to work today, type of way. Like they really hated the day after Thanksgiving. They hated it. Now, here's where things get a bit spicy, right? Police officers were calling this day Black Friday because of how torturous the day was for them. But retailers, they didn't like this name. They felt like it was bad for business, It was like the name was associated with bad things. So they were like, we don't like this name. It's not nice. It's bad for business. We don't want to be associated with this day. So they were like, maybe we could change the name. Maybe instead of Black Friday, we could call it Big Friday. Listen, I'm not a marketer or anything like that, but Big Friday? Really? That's all you could come up with? From Black Friday to Big Friday? Okay, now if retailers wanted to change the name from Black Friday to Big Friday, they could do it. They were absolutely in their right. Except there was just one tiny itty bitty little problem. Nobody cared. Yeah, that was the issue. Nobody cared, and no one ever called it Big Friday. No one ever used that name. You know what? And I get it. It doesn't sound right. I wouldn't use it either. So I don't know what they were thinking. The name Black Friday spread from police slang to newspapers to the public to other cities. And at this point, Black Friday had two meanings, or was associated with two events. The first one would be the 1869 financial collapse, and then the second one would be in the 1950s with the retail chaos, the shoplifting, police suffering. But still, up to this point, Black Friday has nothing to do with sales, nothing to do with discount culture, and it's definitely not a shopping holiday. Black Friday still wasn't the Black Friday that we know now. At least, not yet. So, when does Black Friday become the Black Friday that we all know now? How does it change? What gets it to the point where we know it now? Well, let me tell you, now we are entering the era that changed it all. The 1980s, the decade of greed, excess, neon colors, big hair, and most importantly, capitalism on steroids. Retailers were sick and tired of Black Friday having a negative meaning. It was bad for business. They needed something that would attract customers, boost holiday sales, make shopping sound glamorous, and, erase the association that Black Friday had with theft and chaos. Like I said, it's bad for business. So what did they do? How did they fix this issue? Well, they did what marketers and men do best. Lie. They lied. They created a brand new origin story for Black Friday. The famous myth that says Black Friday is the day when stores go from red ink, which is losing money, to black ink, which means profit. This was not historically true. Not even close, okay? Not even close. But it sounded smart, corporate, fancy, economical even, And unfortunately, the people ate it up. Yes, they did. They ate it up. It spread through newspapers, TV ads, store flyers. Even teachers were talking about it in school. And boom, just like that, a complete rebrand. And now stores felt comfortable advertising the day. And once the rebranding hit, capitalism said, let the madness begin. Stores began offering massive discounts, doorbuster deals, early morning openings, overnight lines, flash sales, and limited quantities. People went feral. The crowds became bigger every year. Malls turned into battlegrounds, and people started camping overnight outside of the stores. It was madness. And then came the dark side. By the 1990s and 2000s, people were trampled, workers were crushed by crowds, fights broke out in every store. News footage showed people throwing hands over a microwave, parents fighting over toys, security guards being overwhelmed. At this point, Black Friday became a thing, a culture, a national ritual of chaos, not because it was created that way, but because a marketing lie rebranded it. And capitalism said, hey, let's make people fight over $15 towels. And the rest is history. Today, Black Friday is a global holiday, a shopping empire, a competition, a tradition, maybe a little bit of a cult behavior. Just a little bit. And most importantly, it is a billion-dollar industry. Stores make over $9.8 billion online in one day. And to think that all of this came from a corrupt gold scheme, a miserable police department, and a marketing department that refused to take no for an answer. Black Friday today is capitalism's Super Bowl, a day built from 3 unrelated disasters stitched together into one. So, the next time someone says, I love Black Friday. Just smile and think about all the chaos that lies underneath that name. Black Friday wasn't born from joy, it wasn't born from generosity, and it certainly wasn't born from the holidays. It was born from disaster, reshaped by chaos, and rebranded by capitalism. And just like that, we've reached to the end of this video. If you're still here, I just wanted to say thank you so much for staying with me and learning about the history of Black Friday. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to be talking about next week, but I think it's probably going to be a historical figure. So please be safe, have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye!